Hi, my name is Christine Ballista, and I will be interviewing a member of Generation Z today. I will leave the intros up to her, but let's get this party started.
Hey everyone, my name is Rochelle Christensen. I'm from Shoreline, Seattle. I'm a third year nursing student, and I thought I would volunteer for Christine's interview. It seemed really interesting. So, yeah.
Love that, love that. All right, so we live in a post digital world, stating the obvious. A lot of the hobbies that we used to enjoy as kids in our time have now been replaced by the digital. Cue the iPad Gen Alpha kid. How much of what you do on the daily or look forward to doing, this could be your hobbies, whatever, requires some type of technology? And do you think you can give me an example?
Um, I wouldn't say too much of everything that I do, like from day to day, involves technology. I think the most I would do, or like the most I would use it for hobby wise would be
Mm.
like if I was in a car and I needed to look up some chords.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be actual hobbies. Um,
Mm.
that would as well. Like a lot of my hobbies include like actual like physical activities. So I enjoy baking a lot. I'm a
Mm.
lab technician, so I do that in my spare time. I also
Love.
enjoy
Mm-hmm.
cooking. I also go to the gym. I think part of my gym regime would also include using technology just because of my workouts. I do need a reference, so I would look to my phone to use that.
Mm.
And obviously, like if I'm on social media, then I would be using my phone, but I wouldn't really consider that as a hobby.
Mm-mm. So it's pretty much kind of across every area of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, given that we're really plugged into digital right now as members of Gen Z, we most likely have 2 to 3 social media apps downloaded onto our phones. Assuming you do, because you're a participant in this interview, what platforms do you find yourself using? How much time do you spend using these? And lastly, would you say you're conscious about the time that you spend on these platforms?
All right. Well, I usually use Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my screen, like my average time on my screen, the notification that you get at the end of every week. I
Mm.
think I spend about like 5 to 6 hours average,
Mm-hmm.
like on my I'm not sure specifically what app, but I would say quite a few hours are dated to Instagram. I do use Facebook occasionally, but really not all that much.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've content that I like to be on on Instagram.
Mm.
Uh, I am quite conscious of how much time I do spend on it, especially when I'm about to go to sleep.
Mm.
So I do limit like using any social media before I go to sleep because I do find that it affects my sleeping patterns a lot.
Mm.
And saying that really like I don't really stop myself from going on my phone if I really want to.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's lovely. That's lovely. So, kind of, in your sleep, sometimes you might see the things that you browse on social media in your dreams. On that note,
yeah,
like how much of your decisions are influenced, by what is presented to you on social media or what you come across on social media?
um, I'm not sure. It really depends. Like I do follow a lot of like makeup and beauty influencers, so I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of their recommendations kind of filter through the decisions I make when it comes to skincare or
Mm-hmm.
makeup stuff because if somebody's willing to spend that,
Mm, bless you.
excuse me, if someone's willing to
Oh, well.
if somebody is using a product and they recommend it, then I'd obviously like spend that as well
Mm-hmm.
and try the product myself and see how I go. But I think that would be the extent of it. I really find myself too much of an online shopper. I do prefer to go in store,
Mm.
especially clothes and
Mm.
actually try things, quality and stuff. So yeah, I think that would kind of be the only influence it would have on my like purchases and other decisions
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in
All right.
general.
Lovely, lovely. So now moving on to the second half of the interview, which will be kind of more geared towards your awareness of, your privacy rights and surveillance legislations.
Yeah.
Recently, in Australia, there's been a new surveillance legislation, the Identify and Disrupt Bill, introduced as of November 21. November 2021. Public awareness surrounding the bill is at an all-time low. The government hasn't started rolling out their ad campaigns on television. Like, did you hear about this bill being introduced?
No, I had no idea. I
Mm,
mean, I live in America, so I'm not too sure if
you're right.
this is, yeah, like, I wouldn't know anything about it.
Mm. Okay. I guess translating it to a context that you'd be familiar with, if you were aware of how much of your data is accessible to third parties, would you reconsider your social media use?
I think to an extent. I mean,
Mm.
it depends kind of what information is being released or
Mm-hmm.
is known.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like my address, mobile number, those would be pretty important.
Mm.
But if it's just like I don't know, like I think it just depends. Like my partner is really pedantic about surveillance and
Mm-hmm.
people knowing his information, but I think that he's just more of a private person and he knows a lot more about that kind of stuff than I do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little less worried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. You're still aware, but at the same time, you know, you're not paranoid.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just going into what particularly has been instituted here in Australia, just to give you some type of context of the whole scope of the interview, the three big powers that have been given to the Australian Federal Police, or the AFP, as well as the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, or the ACIC, are one, data disruption warrants. So essentially, they can modify or delete data of suspected offenders. What are your immediate thoughts on that?
Of offenders.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, so they can modify or delete data of suspected offenders.
Right.
Mm.
I think it, I don't even know what to say. I think that's wrong. It's definitely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't really know what to say about this one.
Mm.
I think it would be like a violation of obviously somebody's privacy,
Mm-hmm.
and just or like an abuse of power.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Almost like, it's kind of like a breach of
Yeah,
rights.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to the second power that they've been granted, it's the account takeover warrant. This means, that, the what it kind of says, the AFP and the ACIC are able to take control of suspected offenders' online accounts. What's important to know, across all three of these is that these can be instituted without warrant. So the offender is not aware of any of these practices ongoing. What do you think
Oh,
about that?
I think that would definitely be wrong as well. Like, again, similar to what I said earlier, abuse of power, violation of privacy, and like, why would you need to do that if they're just like a suspected offender? Like, what do they have on you that would make you would make you to go to such extent to take over their account without actually notifying them of what they've done wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like this probably hasn't happened, but I do know a YouTuber, Friendly Jordies, who's like in a lot of he's got a really strong political stance. And right now he's kind of targeting, like, I don't know what his role is, but Barilaro. Right now, a lot of stuff media that I've seen in Australian media that he's a YouTuber,
Mm.
but he uses power in his political views to get a point across, and a
Mm.
lot of politicians agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I to his account, I would probably say ASIC or AFP have done something to his account because of the stuff that obviously releasing to the media, even though there is truth to it. And he's just else that nobody has bothered to look at or investigate further. That's probably like Barilaro himself are like super pissed at him and are trying to sue him and stuff like that because they probably something. So yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely. That's a very interesting story, actually, about friendly Geordies. I'll look into that myself. And lastly, just about the third power, which is network activity warrants. Basically, authorities are able to collect intelligence on criminal networks. That's kind of, a broad term, but basically, it just falls back on that lack of notification to the party that's being watched. And okay, so moving on now to the next question. When you signed up for your social media account, did you actually read the terms and conditions and the agreements? And do you ever give a second thought to what you're actually agreeing to in terms of data policies?
No, I didn't look. I kind of just like press through, agree, like it's whatever.
Just a huge block of text, it's like,
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, thank you for being honest about that one. I feel like that's the majority of the.
Yeah, I can pretend that I read it like it's whatever.
Alrighty, so now to wrap up this interview, after I guess unpacking all of these things about your social media use, privacy, surveillance, things like that, do you think there are any things that you might reconsider just regarding how you use your social media or digital technologies going forward?
Like probably like I'd most likely be mindful of like the stuff that I post, what I reveal on my social media. Probably like I only ever use the same password and email and stuff, so I might consider between different accounts and stuff. And maybe if I do sign up to something, I will actually look up their like data policy and with it. So yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for your time today, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you the best with the rest of your day. Have a good one.
Catch you.